Tonight, drowning tragedy, another young life lost, another Perth family shattered.
Australians caught in the middle of Japan's devastating earthquake as the death toll soars.
A jet erupts in flames, a runway fire emergency in Tokyo.
Residents fear a serial arsonist is putting homes and lives at risk south of Perth.
A bombshell cocaine link to the SeaWorld helicopter disaster.
And David Warner's public plea for help to track down his baggy green, stolen on the eve of his farewell match.
Live from Perth, 7 News with Tim McMillan and Angela Tsun.
Good evening. Another Perth family is tonight grieving after a drowning tragedy, this time in New Zealand. The 6-year-old boy and his little cousin died when they were thrown from an off-road buggy as it slipped into a waterhole.
His devastated parents have flown to the family farm on the North Island where this horrific tragedy happened.
Two little cousins, the embodiment of adventure and joy, lighting up the lives of everyone around them. On Friday, those lights went dark. 6-year-old Sonny from Perth and 4-year-old Eddie were thrown from a UTV buggy into a swimming hole 11 metres deep. It happened on their grandmother's farm in Peria in remote far north New Zealand. The driver and 3 others managed to escape. Despite desperate efforts, the boys couldn't be found.
Dive crews have since been called in to help with the search.
Divers recovered their bodies the next day, their families distraught, posting, "Our hearts are forever broken, we'll always love you forever," saying Eddie lit up every space he entered, describing Sonny as their inquisitive bug man, cherished and treasured. Sonny's mum, dad and step-parents have flown to New Zealand to be with their family and to make the gut-wrenching preparations to bring Sonny home. The swimming hole is today closed. New Zealand Police told 7 News a rahui's been placed in the area, which honours the deceased, provides spiritual protection and allows the area to regenerate its life force. Loved ones have set up a GoFundMe remembering 2 little adventurers, much loved and deeply missed. Cyan Valance, 7 News.
At least 30 people are now confirmed dead in Japan after the powerful 7.6 magnitude quake shattered towns and villages in the Ishikawa district. Electricity has been cut off to tens of thousands of people, including Australians on holiday who were right in the middle of it.
Suddenly, violently, Japan's west coast in the brutal grip of an earthquake, magnitude 7.6. The shaking did not let go for around a minute. In this newsroom, a cameraman starts recording as colleagues duck under desks. At a shopping centre, as stock fell from shelves, customers fled or froze. Collapsing buildings, throwing up clouds of debris. This home sent tumbling. The destruction sparking fires that burned into the night. In the snowfields, Australian tourists caught up in the terrifying tremors. This Adelaide family high up in a gondola when it hit.
It was very scary, but it happened so quickly. So, we kind of didn't really process it. And we were stuck on the gondola probably for about half an hour.
Before making it safely back down. Seeing the damage to her neighbourhood, this woman says, "We're in serious trouble. Please help us." The military being sent in with roads in the region cut off, tens of thousands without power. TVs flashed alerts to evacuate, the first major tsunami warning since the 2011 disaster. There were fears of up to 5-metre waves. They reached about 1 metre, the alert downgraded. But with many aftershocks already, Japan's Prime Minister warning
to remain on alert for more earthquakes to come
as rescue teams search the ruins for survivors. Paul Kadak, 7 News.
We have breaking news now, and a jet has erupted in flames on a runway at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. These pictures are just in and show a Japan Airlines plane on fire. The plane had just landed from a domestic flight and had more than 400 passengers on board. It's believed there may have been a collision with a Coast Guard aircraft. At this stage, it's unclear if anyone has been injured, but all passengers and crew were able to evacuate from the burning aircraft.
A dual Australian-Israeli citizen has been killed fighting for the Israeli army in Gaza. Leo Sivan was serving as a tank commander when he was ambushed by militants. The 32-year-old reserves captain was born in Melbourne and moved to Israel with his parents as a toddler. Captain Sivan was the father of a 2-year-old son. His wife is due to give birth to a daughter next week.
David Warner has launched a nationwide plea to help find his stolen baggy green. The Aussie opener says it was pinched somewhere between Melbourne and Sydney, and he's desperate to get it back before his test farewell.
This should be the most celebrated week of his career, but instead David Warner is searching for his most prized possessions.
Someone has taken my backpack out of my actual luggage, which had my backpack and my girl's presents in there. Inside this backpack was my baggy greens.
Warner believes the baggy greens were lost while being flown from Melbourne to Sydney by Qantas.
We've gone through CCTV footage. They've got some blind spots apparently.
In a statement, Qantas says, "We appreciate the importance of this bag and we're doing everything we can to help find it."
It's sentimental to me. It's something that I would love to have back in my hands walking out there come this week.
Warner has long cherished the cap that so few ever get the honour of being presented with, often speaking about his love for it during his 12-year career.
It's something that I've, cherished ever since I've been given it by, Michael Slater, and it's just such an honour.
I think there should be a countrywide search right now from the Australian government.
Chappelle Corby even weighing in, commenting on Warner's social media post, "Qantas, well, do I have a story for you?"
Warner is so desperate for the return of the baggy green in time for tomorrow's test that he's even offered a no questions asked reward.
If it's the backpack that you really wanted, I have a spare one here. You won't get into trouble. Please reach out to Cricket Australia or myself via my social media.
Jaleesa Rapps, 7 News.
Bombshell new evidence has revealed the pilot killed in the SeaWorld helicopter disaster took cocaine in the days leading up to the crash. Investigators have also detailed safety breaches on board the doomed flight exactly a year after it claimed 4 lives.
There were hugs and tears as the family of Ron and Diane Hughes left flowers at the scene of what should have been a joy flight.
We were fishing that day, so yeah, it was pretty full on.
12 months on, new information about pilot Ash Jenkinson, a drug and alcohol management plan supervisor, but on the day of the crash had low levels of cocaine in his blood.
When you're a pilot, there should be no trace.
A toxicology report found he likely ingested the substance 1 to 4 days before his death.
It is unlikely to have had a contributing element in this factor, and that's because of the low levels that were found.
But the interim report by the Australian Transport and Safety Bureau found cocaine can have harmful effects on pilot performance, including risk-taking, inattentiveness and poor impulse control. The report also found seatbelts weren't fitted properly aboard his helicopter.
Out of respect for the victims and their families, SeaWorld helicopters grounded all flights today, marking a sombre anniversary of one of the country's worst aviation disasters.
But then, as Ron and Diane's family paused to remember them, one SeaWorld helicopter did take off. On board, the Premier and the Mayor on a reconnaissance flight to inspect damage from the storms. From the victims' family, for the Premier or not, we think it's disgusting. On the Gold Coast, Amanda Abate, 7 News.
The federal government is under fire for not doing enough to protect the nation's $370 billion nuclear submarines deal. Senior Trump advisors have criticised the new AUKUS arrangement, saying the United States doesn't have enough subs to supply Australia.
Undermining AUKUS.
Air bearing 345.
2 senior advisors to Donald Trump have warned against the nuclear submarines deal.
I think there's a real risk with AUKUS going forward.
Claiming the deal is crazy on its current timeline, worried the US doesn't have enough nuclear subs. of its own.
I wouldn't jump at shadows at these particular comments. I'd never heard of these particular two individuals.
It comes after US Congress passed laws allowing the sale of 3 Virginia-class boats to Australia.
We're taking things from them and not contributing anything. That gets hard, particularly if Australia hasn't done some of the obvious heavy lifting, like building a new East Coast base.
Brisbane, Newcastle and Port Kembla, possible sites. But the Albanese government has delayed a decision by a decade.
We remain very confident that there is strong cross-partisan support in all 3 countries for the AUKUS arrangements.
The US election will be held in November, and as Donald Trump's popularity grows, pressure is mounting on the Australian government to do more to reassure our biggest ally. Donald Trump ahead of Joe Biden in the latest polls.
I think he's entirely transactional as a leader, and if he thinks it's bad value for America, he won't care what previous commitments were made.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
Residents at a caravan park south of Perth are angry and afraid. They say their homes have been targeted by a serial arsonist who's lit at least 3 blazes in the past week. Lucy Murray has this exclusive story.
Nestled in the Pinjarra Caravan Park is Pam Jones's sanctuary. This place is her everything. It's been her retirement home for more than a decade. But it almost went up in smoke 4 times this week.
It was very, very scary. Somebody yelled fire and I went out and saw the backyard on fire.
The arsonist is still on the run.
We're all nervous. We don't know if he's going to come back and do it again.
Firefighters were first called on Christmas Eve. The scorched earth flared up again on the 29th, and then on New Year's Eve, 2 blazes within an hour of each other. All are being treated as suspicious.
This log is still smouldering days after the fire. Crews have been called back here to put it out properly, as it could reignite if the wind picks up. It shows just how dangerous this situation is for residents.
The caravan park has security cameras, and the managers believe they've caught the culprit casually walking from the scene. But it's been over a week since the first blaze, and police are yet to respond to Josh.
In a situation like this, when you've got hundreds of people that are fearing for their life because someone's tried setting it on fire 4 times in a week, I'd say the process needs to be sped up a bit.
7 News has been told the arson squad is investigating, but the slow response has left many older residents feeling vulnerable.
I've got a very, very dear friend who's 85 next month who's totally deaf. And if the fire had got near his place, he wouldn't be here today, and it's very scary to know that someone would do this.
Lucy Murray, 7 News.
An excited Danish public seems more than ready for an Australian-born queen, proclaiming Mary the key to her husband Frederick keeping the country's monarchy alive as king. The couple stepped out overnight for the first time since news broke of Queen Margrethe's pending abdication.
On a wet winter's night, cheers for the girl from Hobart who will be Denmark's queen in less than 2 weeks.
She's very popular among the people.
The Crown Prince and Crown Princess at Amalienborg Palace for the abdicating Queen's New Year's banquet, a centuries-old tradition. But tradition here is being upended.
A very exciting time. It's not happened in 900 years, so this is just extraordinary. It's a historical moment.
Queen Margrethe making way for her son with his Aussie bride by his side.
She has a tremendous sense of duty. She's always very, very well prepared.
The Queen's abdication, a genuine surprise for the Danes. Margrethe is the first monarch to step down here since the 12th century. It was clearly a closely guarded secret, but there is speculation now it was all part of a grand plan, with Mary playing a key role.
We needed some down-to-earth normality, and she really brought that. And over the years, she developed. She's now she's becoming a queen.
Who could be the key to the future king's success?
I think she will help him in his role by being her, being the person she is. She's got a lot of dignity.
Who is accepted here as the Australian Queen. This is where the Danish Prime Minister will proclaim the new King Frederick and Queen Mary on the balcony of the Danish Parliament on January 14. It'll be a new experience for all because they won't be mourning the death of the previous monarch but celebrating the new. There is a consensus here that this path has been laid down by Queen Margaret. Just a few weeks ago, Frederick and Mary's eldest son, Prince Christian, turned 18. He swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. He will be the new Crown Prince. Mary well and truly ready to be Queen, with history to be made here in the weeks ahead. Tim.
Thank you, Hugh. Sam Jolly joins us now with an early look at weather.
And it was a bit of a gloomy Tuesday, Sam.
Yeah, lots of cloud cover across the suburbs today. It was a bit cooler than expected. We got to 28 degrees this afternoon under southeasterly winds. Right now it is still 27 degrees in the city. And for the rest of the metro area, Mandurah was our warmest spot for a change. 31 degrees there today. Fremantle got to 30, so did Ellenbrook and Morley. It was a much cooler 26 for Kalamunda. We have a strengthening high pressure ridge to the south and a new trough is going to deepen down the west coast, so it will heat up as we head towards the weekend. Tomorrow the cloud should start to clear and we could get some decent wind gusts. I'll have the forecast right after sport, Tim and Ange.
Thanks, Sam. Next on 7 News, the rising value of your home.
Our Perth is outstripping the rest of the nation. What it means for mortgage holders and the price of rentals.
A politician stabbed in a violent attack in front of TV cameras.
The Police Commissioner responds to allegations officers were heavy-handed.
And still to come, the crashing end for an alleged drunk driver. See what happened. That's later.
Police are searching for a predator behind a brazen sexual assault in the Great Southern. Two friends travelling around WA were sleeping in a silver Subaru Forester at the Twilight Beach car park on Saturday. Sometime during the night, an unknown person opened the door of the vehicle and sexually assaulted one of the women.
We don't have any accurate description of this person or a vehicle they were believed to have left the area in.
Anyone who has any information is urged to call police.
A family has been left homeless after fire tore through their property in Balladura. 7 fire crews found the home fully engulfed at 1:15 this afternoon. They managed to bring it under control within half an hour.
This could have been much worse. Smoke alarms obviously save lives. The fire started on the outside of the house and managed to spread to the inside of the house with people at home. Had they had working smoke alarms, the situation could have been much different.
A teenage boy was taken to hospital for smoke inhalation. It's understood a child playing with a lighter sparked the inferno.
After a tough year that included several interest rate hikes, there's some good news for mortgage holders. The value of your nest egg is going up. As Jessica Page reports, Perth's property market is leading the charge, but that makes it harder to save for a deposit.
Interest rates might be taking a bigger bite out of your budget, but the value of your main asset is likely going up. Australian home values surging 8.1% in 2023, and it is Perth leading the property charge, up 15.2% from a more affordable base, according to data crunched by CoreLogic. Property values up the most in Armidale, Gosnells, Rockingham and Mandurah, providing a safety net for those already in the market, but making it tougher to buy or rent. In Perth, tenants are paying an extra $73 per week for a house, an extra $80 per week for units. And while rent hikes have started to ease interstate, they haven't here. That line is still going up. The average household is now spending 31% of their income on rent and will need 10 years to save a 20% deposit for a house, putting pressure on policies to boost supply to meet the federal government's target to build 1.2 million more homes in 5 years.
A horrific attack on a South Korean politician has been caught on camera. Opposition leader Lee Jae-myung was stabbed in the neck while speaking to reporters. Witnesses say a man asked for an autograph before suddenly lunging. He was wrestled to the ground and arrested at the scene. Mr E was reportedly conscious when he was taken to hospital. The injury is not believed to be life-threatening. The 59-year-old has been involved in a string of corruption scandals.
Russia marked New Year's with an intense drone attack targeting the Odessa and Lviv regions of Ukraine. Vladimir Putin's forces launched almost 90 drones in retaliation to a Ukrainian strike on the Russian city of Belgorod. It followed an 18-hour barrage of Russian airstrikes that killed 49 people across Ukraine last week.
9 commuters have ended up in hospital after a train derailed and caught fire in California. The 8-car engine came off the tracks when a key switch failed to work properly early on New Year's Day. Passengers were forced to walk to a nearby station. The busy line shut down for hours.
WA's Environment Minister still has to give the green light, but plans for a biofuel hub in Perth South have passed another hurdle. The federal government says it's proof our resources industry can lead the way to net zero, but pressure is mounting on the state government to aim higher, faster.
Petroleum was in the name, but BP's former oil refinery in Kwinana is making way for biofuel production that now has the EPA's support, calling it good practice to leverage the use of existing pipeline, jetty and tank infrastructure.
My dad was one of the first workers at old BP. So now that we have this new opportunity to rebuild that BP site into something new which addresses emissions and moves toward a greener future and to meeting our net zero targets, it's really a positive thing.
It'll transform cooking oil waste from Asia into cleaner fuel for aviation and freight, but it's also fuelling criticism of WA's climate policy.
The EPA calls the project's trajectory to net zero by 2050 reasonably achievable if strict conditions are applied, but it does rely on offsets, as does WA's net zero target.
That won't be measured until 2050, decades after other states.
This project will push up WA's emissions by almost 50 million tonnes.
The Premier's argued WA's emissions must go up for the world's to go down, using our gas.
We are the only state in Australia that doesn't have a 2030 emissions reduction target.
It is a global problem. It's not just about each state, but equally, each state's pathway will be different just because of their natural resources. And I think the Premier is absolutely right.
Jessica Page, 7 News.
An alleged drunk driver has caused crash chaos.
A woman badly injured as his car smashes into a shop. Cameras catch the moment of impact. Find out what happened next.
Bad blood as ticket scalpers try to cash in on desperate Taylor Swift fans.
A man charged over a series of suspicious fires in Perth South.
From the grass to gourmet catering, making sure everything's pitch perfect for the big test.
We've never seen this before.
The police commissioner says he believes the officer shown punching a man who was resisting arrest on New Year's Eve was acting within his training and was employing a distraction technique. Cole Blanche says he's watched the video and the officer has his support. He says the Corruption and Crime Commission can investigate claims of excessive force and make recommendations.
A man has been charged with lighting 7 separate scrub fires in Shelley yesterday morning. The 63-year-old was drunk when he allegedly used a lighter to start the fires along Riverton Drive between 1 a.m. and 7 a.m. It took 17 crews almost 4 hours to put them out. The grandfather fronted court today and was refused bail.
The arson squad is investigating a fire at a John Hughes dealership in Wangara. Fire crews were called to the Prindiville Drive business around 6:30 last night. The blaze damaged a brick service building and a Suzuki Swift parked nearby. The cause is being treated as suspicious. Anyone with information is asked to contact Crime Stoppers.
Inspectors have removed almost 1,000 illegal tickets from dodgy websites ahead of Taylor Swift's sold-out Eras tour. Fans are being warned scammers are upselling tickets, with some seats being sold for more than 4 times the face value.
If the markup on the ticket is more than 10%, in most states in Australia, that means that the ticket is not being sold legally.
Consumer experts are warning the only licensed reseller for the event is Ticketek.
Now to a woman's extraordinary survival after she was hit by a van and rammed through the front of a shop in Western Sydney. She was pinned down and buried by debris in the shocking crash as the allegedly drunk driver tried to make a run for it.
At the Pyramid Spice Shop, in a fiery flash, a van smashes through the wall. Cleaning up the front counter, shelves toppling. The store wrecked, but worse, there's a woman pinned against the passenger door. 27-year-old Shutri Kumari was on her way to a nearby temple when she was swept off the footpath. She's alive, conscious, but trapped.
Oh, she's all right. She's okay?
And badly injured.
She said for that brother, I don't want to die, so I want to see my mum. Please, getting out for me.
Siva was first to climb over the van to help her.
I will jump up the top of the roof of the car and reach her first, and then she's bleeding.
He reaches out in comfort. She latches on with both hands.
Better for them they keep holding her and then talk to her. Smoke is coming. The people is scared.
Paramedics finally arrived, taking her to Westmead Hospital. Unbelievably, as others rush to help the woman, the van driver manages to quietly climb out the back, walking away. But witnesses followed him down the street to his home, police making an arrest. 52-year-old Song Lee faced court today. Police allege when they brought him back to the station, he was under the influence almost 3 times the limit.
What's your response to these allegations?
The Korean national was granted bail to face court later this month. The victim will need major surgery, and the shop owner...
I couldn't sleep last night.
He's been left with an almighty mess. Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
An Ellenbrook family has spent the night in emergency accommodation after a blaze destroyed their home. 9 fire crews rushed to the Bendora Turn property around 4:30 yesterday afternoon. Emergency services fought to control the flames, extinguishing them shortly after 5. 2 children were home at the time. Fire investigators are still trying to determine the cause.
With the Sydney Test starting tomorrow, it's not just players on edge, but a small army of staff at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Their job to make sure everything is perfectly prepared, from the hallowed turf to the lunch menu.
If there's a feeling you get when you walk into the SCG, it's because from pitch to plate to dotted I's and crossed T's, everything is millimetre perfect.
We always feel pressure. We're our own worst enemy, so we want the perfect pitch. Groundskeepers play a year-round juggling act between footy and cricket. In summer, the name of the game produced not just 1 perfect pitch, but 9. We put a lot of time and a lot of effort, and the guys sort of have sleepless nights coming into the test, making sure that we've ticked, every box.
The Bulleye soil, Adam says, fertile ground for another classic Sydney spin-off.
That brings spin into play at the end of the 4th and 5th day.
Behind the scenes, John Perkins is working beyond millimetres with a golden flourish, and Merivale's cooking up a storm, copping more deliveries than any batter could possibly handle.
We have trucks delivering every day. It takes an army, especially with the quality that we provide and the diversity of it.
This year, it's not all home ground advantage.
Well, we've gone all out and really put a lot of time and effort into producing a new menu for the Pakistani, a cultural menu.
While the game changes, the science of groundskeeping improves and large-scale hospitality goes to another level, some things like the dressing rooms don't ever change and hopefully never will. This is a room Don Bradman never left, and still the perfect place for a debrief.
They call me in and have a beer with them, so it's really nice.
Tom Saker, 7 News.
Still to come, diabetes breakthrough.
Australian scientists make a life-changing discovery. How they hope to end the need for insulin injections. Those details next.
Financial pain relief for thousands of patients. Find out which drugs are being discounted.
Plus later, the fight over Mickey Mouse, why Disney is shaping up for a courtroom showdown.
And coming up in sport, more on Dave Warner's stolen baggy green. A Cats star takes up ballet, and injury drama in Perth for Novak Djokovic.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
An out-of-control inferno has triggered a toxic smoke alert in Melbourne. Around 20 workers had to be evacuated from the scrap metal yard with piles of metal recycling and rubber on fire. Crews remain at the site trying to bring it under control. The cause of the blaze is yet to be found.
Australian researchers are closing in on a breakthrough cure for type 1 diabetes. In a life-changing discovery, they've identified drugs to potentially eliminate the need for around-the-clock insulin injections.
Eliminating reliance on insulin injections or pumps is a dream for many living with type 1 diabetes. That's now a step closer to reality.
We are repairing the damaged pancreas of individuals that are living with diabetes.
It's really hard to convey how exhausting it is managing being an organ all the time, and the prospect of being able to be my full me is really exciting.
Researchers at the Baker Heart and Diabetes Institute have discovered a way to regenerate insulin production in those living with the disease.
We've harnessed stem cells that naturally are present in the damaged pancreas and stimulated them and instructed them to make insulin again.
We found two drugs that influence the pancreatic stem cells to behave like insulin-producing beta cells.
The two drugs identified by the researchers are already approved to treat rare cancers in America. Now the research is published, preclinical testing will begin this year.
The therapeutic pipeline now is to test this in animals.
Researchers hopeful the breakthrough treatment could be available within a decade.
The idea now is to invest with industry and commercial partners to fund the gap in research funding.
There's the possibility that for all of us, we might be able to say at least goodbye to some of this 24/7 job.
It could also be life-changing for up to 30% of people living with type 2 diabetes who also require insulin. Sarah Jane Bell, 7 News.
The Albanese government has made a number of medicines cheaper under the pharmaceutical benefits scheme. Lynparza will be expanded for Australian women with newly diagnosed advanced ovarian cancer. It destroys cancer cells and would otherwise cost patients hundreds of thousands of dollars. Calquence is being made available for sufferers with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, and Orkambi will be expanded for 1-year-olds with cystic fibrosis.
Time now for a check on the markets with Angela Cox. Ange, it was a strong start to the new year.
It was a strong start for Australian shares for the first trading day of 2024, creeping closer to a record high. The ASX 200 closing up 37 points within 5 points of the peak in August 2021. 10 of the 11 sectors finished in the green, a strong day for the energy sector, mining giants and the banks. Insurance Australia Group took a hit. Investors worried the bad weather will see a spike in claims. The Aussie dollar is buying 68 US cents. Gold is trading at more than $2,000 an ounce, and new data has revealed a big divide in house price growth over 2023. Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth all jumped by double digits. Melbourne barely moved, while Hobart and Darwin actually went backwards in the past 12 months.
He's arguably the most iconic cartoon character in history. And now, after almost a century, Mickey Mouse is in the public domain. Disney's copyright has finally expired. Coming up a little later, what it means for the animation giant and how innovative artists are already taking advantage. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News.
But first, Barrett has sport, and Barrett all set for David Warner's farewell test match.
I think a lot of people are looking forward to it, Ange, actually. And according to the Aussie skipper, we can expect fireworks. Coming up, will the Bull go out with a bang in a test match where Pat Cummins wants to honour his mum? And Alex de Minaur fires up in Perth while there's an injury scare for Novak Djokovic, and Ash Barty steps out with her new baby boy. Welcome back. Pakistan's captain has called for a nationwide search for David Warner's baggy green cap. Warner's offered a reward for his most prized possession, as his own skipper admits personal heartache will provide extra motivation for him in tomorrow's pink test.
High above the SCG to ground level, Pat Cummins likes what he sees up close from the pitch.
Yeah, looks like it's decent coverage of grass, so should be a good week ahead.
We're hoping for a little bit of good carry and then for it to break up later on in the game.
And turn?
I'll definitely turn.
Yeah.
Optional training attended by those who love batting, not David Warner before his final test. Red or white ball cricket, Cummins all praise.
Yeah, Warner week started. I think of him when he first came into the scene and really changed Test cricket. I think he's our greatest free-form player.
Also keen, the gun opener and part-time leg spinner has a fairy tale finish.
100, maybe a leg spinner maybe to take the last wicket of the game or something. Oh, I only just thought of it.
Before his media conference, Cummins was unaware Warner's baggy green caps were missing. Once photographed sleeping with the famous headwear, ironically keeping an eye on it. From Pakistan, sympathy.
I hope they find it, but yeah, it's the most precious sort of thing for any cricketer, and I hope David Warner gets it back.
6 of the last 7 SCG pink tests have been interrupted by rain. Tomorrow's forecast, though, fine. Days lost to rain, nothing compared to family loss. The pink test, raising funds for the McGrath Foundation and cancer awareness. Cummins losing mum Maria to the disease last March.
Pink test is always going to have a special place in the heart of our family, and this year even more so.
2 shock changes for the tourists, axing opener Imam Ul Haq and pace spearhead Shaheen Afridi. Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
And the Scorchers will be chasing 4 straight wins when they face the Strikers at the Furnace tomorrow night. The reigning champs will be wearing their Indigenous playing shirt for First Nations round.
Love to wear it all the time. As you can see, these are amazing designs. Linda's done a fantastic job, and it's something that we now, as I've mentioned before, we're learning more, and understanding the cultural significance of it is something that we hold dear as a team and as a unit.
Yeah, well done. Noongar artist Linda Liu designed the new shirts. Novak Djokovic has overcome an injury scare right here in Perth ahead of the Australian Open. The world number 1 needed treatment on his forearm in his United Cup clash with the Czech Republic before dropping the second set. Djokovic then called a medical timeout, helping him close out the match 6-love.
You know, these things happen. You just have to manage. You know, have to find a solution. And thankfully I managed to finish the match, and let's see what happens now.
Yeah, what happened was Serbia advanced to the quarterfinals where they'll meet Australia, who defeated the USA 2-1 last night. Alex de Minaur dominated top 10 ranked player Taylor Fritz before WA's mixed doubles champions Matthew Ebden and Storm Hunter thrashed the Americans to seal victory.
He left absolutely everything out there. Unbelievable performances in both the singles matches and how the mix went as well. So, it bodes well for hopefully Wednesday night.
And Ash Barty was an interested onlooker in Brisbane today, watching on with 6-month-old son Hayden and mother Josie. Geelong midfielder Cam Guthrie has revealed how he's turned to ballet to help him get back on his feet. The 31-year-old's super keen to put a nightmare 2023 behind him.
A premiership in 2022, Cam Guthrie had a reality check in 2023. His last game in round 6 against the Swans sidelined for the rest of the year.
I was hopeful I'd be able to come back and kind of contribute in the back half of the year, but I kind of didn't end up getting that chance after going in for surgeries.
The Cats midfielder going under the knife to fix his toe, followed by a special rehab program with the Australian Ballet's physio Sue Mays.
It was an injury that kind of, just kept getting away from me, and sometimes they're the most frustrating. And she had some great little foot intrinsic exercises for me that kind of got me back in shape. A little bit tedious at times, but she did some great work with me and I appreciate it.
And it's that ballet work that he hopes will help recapture the form from 2022 when he won the club's best and fairest.
I worked hard over the off-season to put myself in a position where I can hopefully get back and contribute a little bit more in 2024.
Determined to be there in round 1 at the revamped Cattery.
It'd be really nice to get out there and be able to have the full stand, full house, and we're really excited about next year. We had a record number of members last year, going for 90,000 this year.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
And Liverpool has jumped 3 points clear at the top of the Premier League after beating Newcastle 4-2 overnight. Mo Salah dominated, scoring his 150th Premier League goal.
150.
Salah actually had a foot in all 4 goals and sealed the win with an 86th minute penalty that manager Jurgen Klopp was too nervous to watch. Then somehow Klopp lost his wedding ring as he celebrated post-match. Luckily, it didn't take long before he saved himself from a tough explanation. Liverpool now lose Salah for up to a month due to African Cup of Nations duty. And the unlikely run of 16-year-old British darts player Luke Littler is turning into a national fairy tale. He's the youngest player to reach the semi-finals of the World Champs.
One sign of this teenage dream coming to an end. Luke Littler sweeps aside another brilliant darts player.
Can you believe his name is Littler? It may be the product of a misspent youth, but the boy from just outside Liverpool has all of England behind him. Go Lukey Littler. And the cricket now, Tim, I know you love the cricket. 3rd test tomorrow, obviously the pink test, David Warner's farewell, 6:30 tomorrow.
Bright and early.
And the first ball, 7:30.
Let's hope he gets his cap back by then.
Yes, let's
see. Yeah.
Thanks, Barra. The original version of Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse, which launched at Empire, is now free to be used by anyone.
After more than half a century, the copyright on the first Mickey image has expired, despite efforts to keep the mouse in-house.
He's the spindly-legged Mickey Mouse, the earliest version from the 1928 film Steamboat Willie that transformed Walt Disney's fortunes. But today, after nearly a century, this Mickey is everyone's Mickey.
I kind of feel like the pipe on the steamboat, like expelling smoke. It's so exciting that it's finally here.
Disney's copyright on first draft Mickey and Minnie has expired, allowing creatives to use the images without permission. The entertainment company at pains to warn the more modern versions,
"Hey everybody, it's me, Mickey Mouse,"
are still covered. Disney spent decades fighting.
The term was extended, so as of 1978, it was extended to 75 years, and then so we would have gotten Steamboat Willie in 2004.
Finally running out of puff, and it's taken less than 24 hours for the beloved cartoon to morph into a gory killer. Infestation 88, a survival game where players are hunted by Steamboat Mickey, a precedent set when rights to Winnie the Pooh expired. Disney said Mickey will continue to play a leading role as a global ambassador, even if the pioneering mouse is out of the house. In the United States, Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
Sam Jolly's back, and Sam, could be a little windy tomorrow.
Especially for the hills, Tim, and we have a strong wind warning for local waters. I'll have the forecast next.
When big news events happen, turn to 7 News.
The Queen's abdication, a genuine surprise.
As it unfolds, you'll see it live.
Tonight they're celebrating in style.
Because being there matters.
7 News will make sure you're always in the know.
Be first to know with 7 News.
Welcome back. It was a cloudy day across the metro area, a bit cooler than expected. We got to 28.4 degrees this afternoon. That's slightly below average for this time of year. Right now, it is still around 27 degrees. The winds are 17 kilometres an hour. For the rest of the metro area today, Mandurah was our warmest spot, 31 the top there today. Fremantle got to 30, so did Ellenbrook and the airport, and a much cooler 26 for Bickley. And on the charts, we can see that cloud is slowly moving away. There's a strengthening high pressure ridge to the south, and a new trough is going to deepen down the west coast, so it will heat up as we head towards the weekend. Interstate and the severe weather for parts of Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria will ease, but there are flood watches in place. Mostly sunny for the cricket in Sydney tomorrow and cloudy for Adelaide. Statewide tomorrow, stormy for parts of our Kimberley, windy in Exmouth and for a large part of the state really, and wet along our south coast. And on local waters, we do have a strong wind warning with southeasterlies reaching up to 30 knots early in the morning, winds winds tending easterly to 25 knots in the late evening. So we're getting down to 18 tonight, then a sunny 33 tomorrow, gusty winds, especially about the hills in the morning. Sunny and 32 for Thursday and Friday, and a warm weekend. Sunny and 33 Saturday, a warmer 35 on Sunday. It's looking just the same on Monday, and then it's staying warm and sunny next Tuesday. Now, for tonight's winning lotto numbers, they are 36, 44, 3, 46, 24, 21, 30. The supplementaries are 37, 18 and 31. Those numbers again are 36, 44, 3, 46, 24, 21, 30, and the supplementaries are 37, 18 and 31. Tim and Ange.
Thanks, Sam. That's 7 News for this Tuesday. I'll keep you up to date throughout the evening.
For the latest stories, head to 7news.com.au or our Facebook page. Enjoy the rest of your night here on 7.